Assalamu alaikum, my friends. Welcome back to another episode. Marriage Muhyiddin here today, telling you some tips and tricks with the Qur'an Year timeline. So this is just a short video, and I want to show you something kind of cool about the Qur'an Year timeline and how you can use it to kind of keep track of times and dates and so forth. But first, I want to do a quick disclaimer and explain to you how this system is different than the Hijri system and what the system is and what it isn't. The Qur'an Year timeline is a system that I developed to help understand and organize the events around the life of the Prophet, peace upon him, which translates into kind of the events that shaped the Qur'an, the context of revelation. What this is not is an attempt to kind of replace the Hijri system, which is this Islamic calendar that we have right now. This is just like a study aid, like a visual to help you, like a mnemonic to help you memorize what's going on. So I want to do real quick to just show you what the Hijri system is. Okay, so let's take a look at this chart right here. This is the Qur'an Year timeline that we drew out. I'm going to kind of cover it up now. I just cut out this piece of paper right here. I'm going to cover up the Qur'an Year timeline. So we're just going back to like a circle of events right here. Okay, so let's just kind of put that in place. So this is just the events on a system, right? So let's now call this the Hijri system, okay? So I'm going to write Hijri. And the reason why it's called the Hijri system, and this is the current Islamic calendar, is because after the death of the Prophet, peace upon him, the companions are trying to figure out, they realized that we need to have a system to kind of like keep track of dates and years, because, you know, now it's a huge growing empire effectively, right? And so they need to really kind of be, their administrative kind of responsibilities are growing, and they need to keep track of what's going on in this growing movement, this empire. And so they decide we need to come up with a system to keep track of dates, because before this time the Arabs they weren't that into keeping track of like, oh, 10 years ago and this happened and so forth, the way the Romans and perhaps the Persians were doing, because the Arabs were just kind of living year to year, right? So now that they come up with a system, they decide, well, what is the event that we want to start our years with? And after talking about a lot, they decided, let's begin the years of this movement, right? This community, with the year that this community began. And when did this community begin? It actually didn't begin in Qur'an Year 1. The community actually began here in the Hijra right here, right? Because this is when like they actually moved to Medina and they started forming and developing this community, which is now the Islamic Empire, the Muslim Empire. And so what they decided is to call this year 1 right here, and it's now 1. And let me actually get my ruler here so we can, I like to do things cleanly here. So let's draw a line here. And what they decided is that this period of time over here, let's get some different color stickies here, shall we? So we'll make this pink. And we're going to make this other one yellow. I'm going to use all these cool, cute colors in this post-it note set here. We'll make this yellow here. This period of time before the Hijra is BH, which means before Hijra, right? And this period of time here is AH, which means after Hijra. Now this should sound familiar to you, because this is how, the Christian community established, BC, before Christ, and AD, right after the death of what they say is their Lord. And that's based on going back to the life of Jesus, peace be upon him. Now it's called Common Era, BC and CE. Well, the Muslim community also had this kind of idea of like, let's establish the year that this community was established, and so they called this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so go on this way. And then the years that are before the Hijra, they're calling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, going this way, right? So these are kind of like negative years, and these are positive years, if that makes sense. So when you say, oh, in 3 AH, you're actually talking about this year right here, which is 3. Or if you're saying 3 years before the Hijra, you're talking about 3 years before. Now, this is the system of the Islamic calendar. This is the system we use. This is the system that I believe in. This is the system that our rightly guided companions established for us. This is how we keep track of our calendar. The challenge with this system when you're studying Sirah, when you're studying the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, it gets very confusing very quickly because we don't think of our own lives in terms of like, oh, that was 3 years before college, and that was year 4 before college, and then that was 4 years after marriage. Or we tend to think chronologically from like beginning to end. And when it comes to trying to study the life of the Prophet Muhammad, it gets very confusing very quickly to be like, wait, that was 3BH or was that 3AH? And you have too many numbers, you have negatives, you have positives, and it's actually very difficult to do math and say, okay, how many years happened between this event here and this event here? Because technically you're supposed to have a placeholder 0 year, which you don't have. And for all of you math geeks out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That really bugs me a lot when there's no placeholder 0. So it's not even like a system that's easy to work with. And that's why the Qur'an year timeline is a little bit different, and it makes things easier to navigate. Let me give you an example, okay? If I told you how many years was Hamza with the Prophet before he was martyred? Well, we know that Hamza came to the Prophet and came to Islam in year what? Remember, H for Hamza was one of the first of the second H. So that was in Quran year 6 right here, Hamza and Umar. And we know that he was martyred at the Battle of Uhud right here. So if we use the Hijri system, he was martyred in 4 AH, but he came to Islam in looks like what? 1, 2, 3, 7 BH. So what's like 4 minus 7 is 3. Oh, but it's minus 7 is 11, but you missed a 0. So it gets confusing, right? But what if we take this system right here and we instead go to our Qur'an year system? So I'm going to remove this system and go back to the Qur'an year timeline system. So we'll put this off to the side. And now we have the Qur'an year timeline system. And let's use a different post-it note right here. And let's just do some math. Hamza he was martyred in year 16, right? And we know that he converted in year 6, so we know that Hamza was 10 years he was with the Prophet. It's that easy. It's like simple. It's just because it's one chronological flow. It's just a very easy way to kind of work through dates and times of the Prophet. Now that's one thing. Number 2, whenever you want to know the Prophet's age, peace be upon him, you just need to know this very simple trick. All you need to know the Prophet's age at any period of time, I'll write it down right here, is just add 39 and you will know his age. So for example, when he began his mission, Quran year 1, 39 plus 1, he was 40 years old. How old was the Prophet when he made the Hijra? 13 plus 39, it means he was 52. Sorry, I gotta do my math. He was 52. How old was the Prophet at the conquest of Mecca? Remember conquest of Mecca, 20/20 vision. So 20 plus 39, he was 59 years old at the conquest of Mecca. So another easy trick that the Qur'an year timeline allows you to do to keep track of the Prophet's age. And it's always nice to know how old he was at a certain period of time. In fact, I actually like to take this another step, and I actually like to know the age of Abu Bakr because, you know, he's my hero, Abu Bakr. And so I like to compare myself to him, and now I just add 37 because Abu Bakr was 2 years younger than the Prophet. So I can say, oh, how old was Abu Bakr when he made the Hijra? 37 plus 13, he was 50 years old when he made the Hijra. So an interesting trick to know the age of the Prophet. And then the final trick, which I think is fun, is to know what is the Gregorian year so that you can put it in the context of maybe some of the history that you've learned according to the Gregorian system, which is kind of like the AD BC system, the BC Common Era system that we have. So if you want to know the Gregorian year, all you need to do, let me do 2 of these because these are very light colored here. If you want to know the Gregorian year, all you need to do is add the number 609. So just take a Quran year and add 609 to it, and you'll have the Gregorian year. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, started getting his first revelation, Quran year 1 plus 609 is 610. That's when the clock started. And when did, let's go back to the Hijra. When was the Hijra? Let's just do some math here, shall we? Let's get another, I need to actually carry the 1 and stuff. I need help with this. So let's see here. Let's remove this one here. And we're going to say the Hijra is in 13. So we're going to take 13 plus 609. Let's do the math. 12, carry the 1, 2, 622. was when the Hijrah took place. So again, there are 2 tricks here. Add 39 to any Quran year. You'll know the age of the Prophet, peace upon him, roughly at any given point. And then add 609 to know the Gregorian year at any given point. Now, finally, the last thing I will say about this is that these dates I created to the best of my ability, looking at so many different books of when events happened. It's impossible to know exactly when things happened, okay? But this gives you a very good rough estimate of all of these events that happened. Realize that they were not using a solar calendar, they were using a lunar calendar, and so there could be some kind of variation, the difference in the narratives of when specific thing happened. But the Quran year timeline is designed to give you this rough general overview of what was happening and this series of events that built up to that. If you want more information about the chronology and understanding how I work this all out, you can go to the back of my book, and one of the appendices of this book right here, let's see, Revelation, the story of Muhammad. There's a series in here where I kind of talk about the uncertainty of dates and how I came up with the Quran year timeline. But those of you who are interested in that, this should work really well for you. I hope this was helpful for you. Remember, if you want more information, you can go to my website, therevelationexperience.com, get that free PDF about the Quran year timeline. Is for you guys to have. I want to give as much as I can to you. You can get more information about all of these books and what is out there available for you to have. And I'll see you in the next episode, because in the next episode, we're going to be talking about the Quran year timeline, but we're going to start unlocking the power of the Quran year timeline. So far, we're showing you the utility of it, how it's helpful to you. But now I want to unlock the power of it, because what we're going to do is we're going to overlay the Quranic surahs, the revelation onto this, and understand how the Quran, the themes in the Quran, match the themes in the life and the journey of the Prophet, peace upon him. And most importantly, how they will match the themes in your journey as well. So I'll see you guys in the next episode, inshallah. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.